This is Anna Cramling. She's one of the best chess players in the world, she's an incredible content creator, and she's never played Pokemon. No Pokemon Go, no Pokemon TCG, and not one of the Pokemon video games. Now, I've known Anna for years at this point. We were on the same esports team together way back in the day. And recently, she was assigned to be my coach in an online chess tournament called PogChamps. So Anna has been teaching me chess. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized just how similar it was to competitive Pokemon. And that got me thinking, how good would a professional chess player be at Pokemon even if they'd never touched the game before? So I asked Anna if she would help me out with my experiment, and she graciously agreed. I've put together a presentation designed to explain the basics of Pokemon, using as many chess parallels as I can. And once we've gone through everything, Anna's gonna hop into some battles and put what she's learned to the test.
My experience with Pokemon is absolutely zero. Like, I have never played Pokemon, even when Pokemon was super popular, you know, when everyone was walking around trying to catch Pokemons. I didn't understand anything of what was going on. I was playing chess. My gaming experience in general is zero. It's to the point that every account I have in a game is Anna Gaming 123. Like, I don't have any name. I'm not a gamer. I'm a chess player, but I'm gonna do my best here. This is gonna be fun.
Yes, so I've put together a little presentation for you with the help of some of my friends here, which I'm hoping will help to kind of get you into the basics and into the game. Now, I know that this screen is probably a little overwhelming because there's a lot of things on it. You have 2 Pokemon on the field at a time that you control, and your opponent also has 2 Pokemon on their side of the field that they control as well. So on this screen, you can see these little pink guys on the bottom here in this main rectangular box. That's your Pokemon. And well, one of them is blocked because this guy's really big, but you can see one of your opponent's Pokemon over here. You can see these green things at the top here. These are your health bars. The goal in a game of Pokemon is to use your Pokemon to knock out all 4 of your opponent's Pokemon, and that's their goal as well.
One comment is that I love that Pokemon looks a bit like a knight, like a horse, like a chess horse.
We're going to get into that. Yeah, actually, many of your Pokemon are vaguely chess piece shaped, funnily enough.
Wow, that's funny. And then a question. You said the 4 Pokemons. I thought it was 2. Did I get that wrong?
That's a great question. Yes. So the way that it works is that each player has 4 Pokemon total, but they only have 2 out at a time. So they might have, you know, like different combinations of 2 out at a time. But if one of them gets captured, then they get to replace it with another Pokemon or piece that they have in the back. And when you lose all 4 of your Pokemon, all 4 of your pieces, that's game over. In chess, each of the pieces that you have affect the board by making a move through space across the ranks in the files, right? In Pokemon, they also make moves, but they do it in something of a different way. So they each have 4 attacks. Most of these attacks are going to do damage to the opposing Pokemon. And again, when you remove all of a Pokemon's health, that's effectively when you capture it. There are other moves as well. Not all moves do damage. Like some moves can help keep your Pokemon safe. Some will help control the space in a less literal sense, but still in a very important way. In a chess game, you're taking turns with your opponent, right? Like you move and then I move and then you move and then I move, right? White then black, etc. Whereas in Pokemon, it's a little bit different in that both players choose the moves that they want to use at the same time. And then once both players have selected their moves, you don't have agency anymore. You just watch and you like wait and you sit back and the game will play out like what happens based on the moves that you selected.
Is there anyone that plays out first? Because I guess you can't like attack at the same time.
No, that is a super, super apt question. And actually, Anna, you lead us into our next slide, which is that what determines the order in which Pokemon move. In chess, a lot of what we teach, or what you are teaching me as a beginner, is to control the center, right? It's whoever controls the center has the best control over the game, right? In Pokemon, what you're trying to control is the speed of the battle, because the way that it works is that normally Pokemon move in the order of their speed stat. Pokemon have lots of different stats. The main one that we care about, really the only one that we're going to focus on today, is the speed stat. So if we look at our slide here, we can see this little like sword weasel guy. His name is Chenpao. And this is your opponent's Chenpao in this instance. And so he has a really high speed stat of 205. Specific number doesn't matter. You just need to understand this is the fastest thing. It's the highest number. So he moves first. Then it's their Urshifu, who's this evil looking bear. Then you have your cute little Indeedee, who's shaped a little like a bishop, right? Kind of. And then you have your horse.
Like, how do I know the speed stat of my Pokemons? Does it say?
You can check, but this is one of the things that will you kind of learn with experience. However, you're going to be using a strategy where it's less important what your speed stats are, and we'll get to that in a little bit. That was a lot, I'm sure, but like the general flow, does it kind of make sense? Is there anything that seemed weird to you about that?
No, it makes sense. I'm just laughing at this picture where I'm thinking 20 turns and you're on turn 2.
Turn 2.
It's
I like this one. I like this slide a lot. Yeah.
But no, it makes sense, I think.
In chess, I imagine a lot of what you do, and correct me if this is wrong, but you're thinking through future turns, right? You're thinking, if I move my knight here, like how does that, like what move can they make? And then what happens from there? And kind of trying to predict a couple turns down the line, I mean, probably many turns down the line for you. And think about what the board might look like and whether that board state is good for you or bad for you. And it's super similar in Pokemon, which I think we've already seen a little bit in terms of just like my own chess practice trying to learn, is that kind of that foresight, that ability to think about future game states. It's very similar. It's a really similar process, except that it's really hard to think even one turn ahead, because there's no, like, each of your moves is influenced by what your opponent might do. And so you might think, oh, like, I want to move my knight here, but imagine having to figure out where to move your knight when your opponent hasn't moved their bishop and they'll move at the same time, right? That would really restrict the space of where you'd want to go.
And do you, at your level, can you predict quite well what's going to happen for several turns most of the time?
So what's really interesting is that people have different ways of playing. Most players do exactly what you just said, in that they predict. They say, okay, what option do I think my opponent's going to go for? Maybe they go for like 2 options, and they try to make the best move given those 2 options. What I try to do is a little bit different, in that I try to cover for all possible or all plausible options that I think the opponent could go for, so that no matter what move the opponent makes, I'll still win. That being said, that's extremely difficult, and oftentimes in trying to kind of achieve it, I end up losing games that maybe I could win a little bit easier if I just made more aggressive predictions. So in the current Pokemon format, there's probably over 600 or 700 different Pokemon you can use that are currently like tournament legal. And each of those Pokemon can be used in a multitude of different ways. They each have, let's say 50 to 100 different possible moves that they can learn. You only choose 4 of them. They have a ton of different viable items. Their stats can be distributed in a ton of different ways. Depending on how the player has chosen to train their Pokemon, depending on what moves they've given them, they can actually function very differently despite technically being the same species. There are more possible Pokemon teams than atoms in the known universe. So like this isn't about necessarily finding the, absolute best team. It's more about finding a team that you like, and it's fun to play and kind of gives you the tools that you want. But it's a part that I really like about Pokemon, and it is something that's unique or like distinct from chess, in that the customization element, while it does add a lot of difficulty and it's really challenging, it's also really rewarding. And you can gain a huge advantage because you're able to, if you select pieces that give you an edge against what most other people are using, that's like a whole advantage you can have potentially for a whole tournament.
Wow, that is so fascinating. That is so cool. And I love the example of atoms in the universe. Because it's funny, because we chess players, we also have one of these sayings, and everybody always goes, what are you talking about? And I've never heard someone say it like for a different game. And I just felt so like, I'm smiling right now. Like it's really cool. Because we typically say in chess that there's like more possible chess positions in the world that there are atoms in the universe, basically.
Another cool thing about Pokemon is that it's a game of partially hidden information. You're not going to really know anything about the Pokemon your opponent is using, except for like the species of them. You're not going to find out what moves they have, what stats they're using, what items they have until after the game has started. And the game doesn't tell you this. You just have to kind of experience it through playing. Torkoal here, who's on your team, is a Pokemon I think is quite cute. He's a fire type turtle. He's like a volcano turtle here. And as you might guess, as a fire type Pokemon, he doesn't learn any water type moves. And so if you see an opposing Torkoal, you really don't have to be worried about it using a water type attack. So even though it has a bunch of different moves that it can use, it's pulling from a limited subset, if that makes sense.
Is there an opposite of everything? Because I get that with fire, there's water that is an opposite.
Yes.
But like, what other examples are there?
Yes. So there are 18 different types in Pokemon, and each of them has different weaknesses and resistances, meaning there are some types that do, a weakness means a Pokemon will take double damage from an attack, and a resistance means it will take half damage. And you do not need to know all of that. Thankfully, the game will tell you when a move is super effective or not very effective. So even though fire is weak to water, it's also weak to the ground type. And the ground type is also weak to water. So there's, as you can imagine, Pokemon can have either 1 or 2 types. And so it can get actually somewhat interesting, somewhat fast, because, you know, maybe you have a fire type Pokemon who's also a water type. And then that Pokemon actually won't be weak to water, because while fire is weak, water resists it. And so you get kind of this interesting mix and matching dynamic.
I want that Pokemon. That sounds fun.
Yes, it's a really cool one. Although I think there's only one of them and it's not tournament legal. So I picked actually a very bad example,
Okay.
Unfortunately. But maybe one day. Right now in the current format, players are allowed to choose one Pokemon that's just stronger than it's supposed to be. One Pokemon that's so strong, in fact, that it's normally banned. For you, that's the Pokemon that looks like the knight, but it's actually your queen. And it's called Calyrex Ice or Ice Rider. Calyrex, all these names work for it. The horse also works as well. What makes this Pokemon so good is that not only does it have completely ridiculous stats, it can also deal a ton of damage, and its main weakness is that it's very slow. However, this other Pokemon that we have on screen, it's called Indeedee, and it's basically your knight. And the reason why I think it's the knight is that it helps to control the space on the board, and it also helps it to survive for longer by protecting it with this special move it has called Follow Me. Follow Me is a really good move in that it forces both your opponent's Pokemon to target the user. And that's really important because you might think, well, why would I want to make my opponents attack me? That's because you're protecting your queen here. So Calyrex is the queen. We want it to do most of the work. Indeedee is kind of the knight, is going to help protect Calyrex so it can do its job.
It's like when the knight and the queen are working together against the king. They're like the best pieces together and they're a team.
Yes.
And here they're a team as well in a different way. So
exactly.
It makes fully sense. I like that. What was it called? Ice Rider? No? Ice
Rider, yeah, or Calyrex.
Yeah, because I remember when we did our first chess session, you kept calling something the Ice Rider, and I was like, what is that?
So Ice Rider has, I think, guaranteed Trick Room. Calyrex and Indeedee, but normally Calyrex, we're going to talk about here, is your main Pokemon to execute your main strategy, which is a special move called Trick Room. Trick Room is really interesting in that what it does is it sets up this weird field condition where for the next 4 turns, the order in which Pokemon move is reversed. And so if a Pokemon was really fast before, inside of Trick Room, it's now really slow. So your main strategy here is to take advantage of these Pokemon that are faster and actually flip the battle on its head, set the Trick Room up, and now you're going to have the speed advantage, and then you can go on the offense here.
How long does this last for? Like the turn? Like if I make everyone
Great question.
Go slower, yeah, for how long?
So a turn in Pokemon refers to all 4 Pokemon taking an action being an attack, a switch out, or to faint, to get captured, basically. And so once you set Trick Room up just one time, you then get to benefit for the next 4 turns. So for 4 turns, and keep in mind, most battles are going to be over in less than 10, you're going to have a very big advantage, and your opponent's kind of going to be on the back foot. The role that one of your Pokemon plays will be different than your other ones. You would almost never rely on your Indeedee for damage, just like you would never rely on your Calyrex for support, just like you wouldn't rely on your queen to be a sacrificial piece, unless you're me and you're feeling a little bit crazy.
I was gonna say.
Using Knights. Yeah, maybe after we'll have to see. Maybe PogChamps there will be a really spectacular wolf blunder.
We'll insert it here.
No, I blundered my queen. Just some kind of general parallels here. We're using knights and bishops kind of to talk about our support pieces. These Pokemon are mostly here to kind of control the space on the board, to make it easier for your other pieces to develop, to get into the right position, to keep them safe when they're like actually out, and just generally to allow your other Pokemon to move around more freely. Rooks I'm using to refer to as some of your more offensive pieces, where they're going to be Pokemon that maybe are a little bit more frail, but they're really good at doing damage. So you have to make sure you get them in the right position. You kind of want to get them that nice open file where they can just threaten a ton. And if you give them the space, they can really kind of just do a ton of damage and take a bunch of captures. And the queen is your centerpiece. It's super flexible. It does a ton of damage. And if you keep your queen while your opponent still has their queen, like you're in such good shape, right? When your opponent has lost their queen, you're in such good shape. And if you were it's the main piece on your team that your opponent wants to deal with. Like if they can deal with your queen without losing the game, that's a huge advantage for them. If you want to think about kind of pawns in this analogy, I would say that it's more akin to like maybe giving up a little positioning or letting your opponent get some speed control or losing some health on one of your key pieces. So it's not going to like lose you the game, and it often isn't going to be that big of a deal, but if you're not careful, it can kind of snowball out of control. But there's no like Pokemon that are like, in my opinion, really parallel to pawns. Every Pokemon battle starts the same way. Out of your team of 6 Pokemon, you select 4 of your Pokemon, then your opponent's going to do the same. You can select, for example, three knights and a queen, or a queen, a rook, and 2 bishops. So you're going to have 6 pieces on your team, but each battle, you only select 4 of them based on what your opponent has. And you're just trying to pick the pieces that you think are going to give you the biggest advantage against your opponent's 4 pieces.
Can I know what the 6 or 4 Pokemons of my opponent are when I pick my 4 Pokemons, or can I not know that?
Great question. Yes. So the way that each battle starts is you see their 6 Pokemon and they see your 6 Pokemon, and you have just under 2 minutes to make a decision. And so you see all 6, but you only get to pick 4 of them. And you don't know what 4 they're going to bring. So your goal basically is saying, out of the 6 Pokemon that I see, which 4 do I think are most likely? And then given which 4 I think are most likely or most threatening, which 4 of my own should I bring? In chess, you have a fork, right? Where you can use 1 piece to attack 2 different pieces, effectively guaranteeing a capture a lot of the time. In Pokemon, we typically call this a pin, and it refers to one move or sometimes a combination of moves that force your opponents to give up one of their pieces. So we talked about typing earlier. Just traditionally, it's really difficult to switch into the combination of electric and ice type attacks. And so in a mid-game situation, if you have a strong electric type Pokemon and a strong ice type Pokemon, you might find yourself in a position where you can just force your opponent to give up one of their pieces because there's nothing they can use to kind of survive it. I don't actually know the exact definition of Gambit, but like giving up a pawn, for example, to get better positioning, that's something very similar to what we can have inside of Pokemon. And you can see here, you've got a Gambit that I think is going to be really dangerous that we'll get into it in a second. This team was built by Alec Terrazas, I believe is how it's pronounced. Though, Alec, if you're watching it, I pronounced it wrong. I'm sorry. And he used this team to get 2nd place at a really big regional championship. These are your 6 Pokemon, and I know that it probably seems like a lot because none of these characters mean anything to you. But it's actually a lot simpler than it seems. Ice Rider. Okay, like we said, this is your queen. It's your primary attacker, and your goal is to use it to win you the game or to capture enough of your opponent's pieces that you can win eventually. This is a very, very, very bulky Pokemon. Bulky meaning it's really hard to get rid of. It can take multiple attacks. Also, it's a queen that can attack 2 of your opponent's pieces at the same time with 1 move called Glacial Lance. Even more dangerous, every time it captures a piece, it gets 50% stronger. And so if you like let it get out of control, it just will immediately end the game, basically.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that. Please bring this to me in chess. Like, this is the best piece I've ever heard.
It does have a main weakness though, which is that it is super slow. And remember, speed is everything. So again, your main strategy is going to be to use the move Trick Room, which again causes slow Pokemon to move before fast ones for 4 turns. And basically while Trick Room is up, it's going to let you do what you can to win the game.
I love it. Calyrex is my favorite one, I think.
Yes, it's really strong. The main goal of Indeedee is not to do damage, but instead to help Trick Room goes up. One of its best tools is the move called Follow Me, which, like we talked about, helps keep Calyrex safe and forces your opponents to target Indeedee instead of Calyrex. Oftentimes, the best thing that can happen is for Indeedee to get captured, to get knocked out on the first turn. If that happens, you're often just going to win the game because they took the capture at the wrong time. However, even if Indeedee survives, it has another move that's very helpful. It's called Helping Hand, and it's basically a move that makes the partner's attack 50% stronger. So Indeedee's not that strong of a Pokemon on its own, so we use this move because rather than, having it survive and then having it not be able to do anything, it can instead work as a support for your queen by helping it do more damage once you already have your setup off. Next, let's talk about your rooks. These are going to be your main core. So normally you're going to open with Indeedee and Calyrex, and in the back you're going to have Torkoal, who's our little turtle, and Hatterene. I always forget how to pronounce it. I mentioned a second ago that the best thing that your Indeedee can do is often to get captured. And the reason is that if Indeedee gets captured, that's a discovered attack. Because when a Pokemon gets captured at the end of the turn, you're able to switch a new Pokemon in. And so basically this allows you to get both your queen and your rook, one of your rooks, into position and just blow through the opponent's team. The main difference between these 2 Pokemon is that Torkoal is stronger and it's normally going to be your main second attacker after Indeedee goes down. But Hatterene is a little bit more flexible, and so it can be useful in situations where the damage might not be enough or you need a little bit more of like a Pokemon that can change its tactics. Because the thing about Torkoal is that once it locks into a move, it can't change it.
It's crazy how easy this is to understand with chess terms. Like when you're telling me this with chess terms, it makes perfect sense, and I wouldn't get it.
Okay, I'm really glad.
Yeah, so it's amazing that you've done that. I'm really impressed that you've been able to do it because it makes fully sense.
Last but not least are your bishops. So you have 2 bishops, and these are the Pokemon that you're normally going to be leaving behind because you can only bring 4 each match. The main advantage of using Gallade, who's the Pokemon on the left, is that it's a little bit bulkier than your Hatterene. And so maybe you're facing a team and the team looks just like, it looks so tanky. And you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to win the game in the first Trick Room. I'm going to need a second one. Then Gallade can be really good because although it's not as powerful offensively and it doesn't have a move that hits both of your opponent's Pokemon, because it's so tanky, it can be really useful to help set up a second Trick Room. When you bring Gallade, it's normally going to slot in over Hatterene. I may have already said that, but basically Gallade kind of takes the place of Hatterene as a slightly bulkier attacker that can also set up Trick Room. But Smeargle takes the place of Indeedee. It's typically going to be weaker, but there are a couple situations where it's actually a fair bit better. Smeargle's gimmick is that it learns every single move in the game, and so you can do some really mean things with it. Decorate is a move you use not on your opponent, but on your own partner Pokemon, and it will immediately double their damage output. So imagine a queen that could like attack through pawns and hit the Pokemon, hit the piece in the back at the same time. If you get a Decorate off on your Calyrex, you're often just gonna it's often just gonna be over because this is basically promoting your pawn. Actually, that's what it actually is if you use Decorate, that's promoting your pawn to a second queen.
Why does that not happen every game, or how? What? Yeah.
So it's I would say that Smeargle's a little bit riskier because it's slightly worse at getting the Trick Room up against like most Pokemon. And so normally we're gonna want, like, I would say that at a top level, I think Smeargle is actually a fair bit scarier. This is like a more advanced opening basically. And so if you really get the hang of the first one, we can mix in this one more. But I think to start out, we'll start with the more basic one. Smeargle can also put your opponent's Pokemon to sleep. Sleep is a really debilitating status condition where whatever piece you put to sleep just can't make any moves for between 1 and 3 turns. So imagine you like get a sleep on your opponent's queen and they're not allowed to move from the spot for the next 3 turns. Like oftentimes that's just going to be like mean that you capture it for free, right?
Yeah, that's so sad. That's so mean. We're just punching them when they're asleep.
Yes, it's really, really mean, but it's also really good. And it's part of the reason this is one of my least favorite Pokemon ever because it's kind of toxic, but like it's really good when you use it. It's really fun when you use it.
I think Smeargle looks very cute. It looks like it's wearing a French hat or something. And
yeah, he is. He's a little painter. So he's got a little bray on.
Oh, it's so cute. And it looks a bit like a dog cow thing. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, he does kind of he's kind of like the spots. Yeah. So maybe this is your cow opening, I guess.
I think it is. I think me and Smeargle would get along.
Let's talk about your opening. I'm going to teach you one opening here. It's called the Frozen Horse Gambit. I have named it. So if the name sucks and the comments don't like it, then you can blame me. It's very simple. There's kind of 2 scenarios. Your first move is almost always going to be the same. You're going to go for Follow Me with your Indeedee and Trick Room with your Calyrex. And if your Indeedee survives, then in the future, you just start clicking the move Helping Hand and Glacial Lance. And you just do as much damage as you can. And if your Indeedee goes down, then you go into one of your Rooks in the back that's normally going to be Torkoal, and you just keep attacking. Fire types and Steel type Pokemon both resist your Ice type attacks. So these Pokemon won't take that much from Glacial Lance. The biggest one is this big shield dog in the middle. He's your main enemy. He's your biggest threat. And so when you see this, the game will tell you, but you might want to consider using your other attack, which we haven't talked about yet, which is called High Horsepower. Because Calyrex is a horse, they can learn the move High Horsepower. And we've already talked a little bit about terrestrialization. There's going to be some situations where you need to terrestrialize your Calyrex, especially versus this ghost horse over here, who's also named Calyrex, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Otherwise, we're just going to be terrestrializing your Torkoal to get some bonus damage. Any questions? I know that was a ton of information. Thank you so much for sitting through all of it. I hope some of it made sense.
But this was so cool. I really feel like I've immersed myself into a whole new world, and I'm so eager to play now. So I get how you feel when I am teaching you all about the Sicilian opening, or I'm going through all these lines.
Cool. Okay, so with that, we're gonna get set up, and we're gonna jump into having Anna try out some games on the ladder. Okay, so we're here. Anna, how are you feeling? We're about to jump into it.
I am ready to destroy some Pokemons.
The main goal here is not to climb the ranking. We just want to get you comfortable with the team. This looks like somebody else who's also kind of starting out. So they actually don't have a queen. So already you're off to an advantage.
So I think that we're going to go for a standard setup, which is Calyrex the queen. We're going to have Indeedee.
Exactly.
And then we're going to have Torkoal, who's going to be super strong. And then Hatterene.
Perfect. That's exactly right. Yeah, this is basically, unless I say otherwise, we're just going to stick with our standard game plan. And then when you have all the 4 of those locked in, you're going to press done at the bottom.
And they can't see it even if I press now, right?
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Okay, cool. I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. You're going to do great. Yeah, you're really going to do great. And also the goal is to learn, right? Like the goal isn't necessarily to win. It's just to kind of get a sense of what's going on.
I'm like breathing heavily. This is terrifying.
Awesome. So these are their 2 Pokemon that they're leading off with. These are a little bit unusual, but there's no need to sweat about that. The first thing that will happen is that there will be some abilities that activate at the start of the turn. Abilities are kind of like passive benefits. Your ability is what makes your Calyrex get stronger every time it gets a KO. So this is just some animations playing. When the battlefield is purple like that, that's good for you. We want that to be the case. So that's good. And they don't really have a good way of getting rid of it. Your first turn ever. What are you feeling, Anna? How are you thinking about going about this?
Okay, so I guess we go for Trick Room for...
You can press A again.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And then I guess we do a Dazzling Gleam.
So we want to go for Follow Me here. You're not under that much pressure, but just to be safe, most of the time our opening is going to be Follow Me.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we can get the Trick Room up safely. We don't want our Calyrex to take damage. And remember, if Indeedee goes down, that's the best case scenario most of the time. Yeah. We want to force them to try and take out the Indeedee. So that move is actually really good for them. That's a move that will help them survive. It'll make all your moves do less damage. And so that was really clever that they did that. However, they activated your Gambit here. So... they've given you a free switch into arguably your best Pokemon. So this is actually pretty good for you, even though they did get their Auroraville up. And you got your Trick Room up perfectly. So this is a great turn 1.
Okay. And what does the purple mean, did you say?
The purple just helps you. It means that they can't use certain moves, and you don't have any of those moves on your team that you would want to use. So it only helps you, basically.
Perfect. So now we're going to go full damage, because now the Trick Room is still up.
Yep. So what do you want to do with your Calyrex?
The high horsepower here.
I think Glacial Lance is okay here. Actually, no, you're right. Yeah, you can go for high horsepower here.
Okay. I'll do it.
And you can do it in... Yeah. So you have to choose a target. Do you want to hit which Pokemon are you thinking here?
Maybe there's Samurott, because it's already...
Perfect. Yes, that's exactly right. And here, actually press the R button, Anna, or go to the Terrestrialize symbol. We're going to power you up here.
Okay, yeah.
And then you're going to want to choose Eruption here.
Yeah.
That's your strongest move. The reason high horsepower is really good here is because your Torkoal will always get rid of the Ninetales. So you actually don't have to worry about that. And so by basically, and it could survive the Eruption. And so what you did basically is you pinned them basically, where you said, okay, I'll try and threaten both KOs with my Calyrex using a stronger move, because I don't need to hit both your Pokemon because Torkoal's already taken care of that.
I see.
So they're trying to stall you out here. They're going for Protect. They're trying to stall out your turns, but you're just going to do so much damage. Now, this Colossal is it's an unusual Pokemon. It's one of the only Pokemon in the game that has, it's immune to Torkoal. Okay, so that's unusual. I didn't even expect that. However, you're still going to do a ton of damage, as you see here.
So I'll still go for the high horsepower. And do I want to go for Colossal then, I suppose?
Yes, because Torkoal, I didn't even realize they had this ability. This is some of that hidden information we talked about. So here, they're playing quite well, but you still have the advantage, because remember, if they let your Calyrex take a KO, you're going to get even stronger.
So should I go for Eruption or Heat Wave? Do I want to keep going with Eruption?
Eruption is strong. Yeah, you can keep using Eruption here. Eruption is always better until you lose a lot of HP. But Torkoal's item actually doesn't allow it to switch moves. So you actually don't have a choice right now. Okay. You're forced to keep using Eruption. That being said, it's really strong. So they're going to switch out again. They're actually playing extremely well. I would not expect this at the level that you're at, the tier that you're at, but they're playing really well. That being said, you just have so much damage that you still have the advantage for now. But yeah, it looks like they're going to be able to stall out. Oh, and they're terrestrializing. But they might survive your first Trick Room, which is pretty scary.
Wow, their stuff is crazy. What is this green?
They're playing really well. Actually, this is kind of crazy. I did not expect this level of play from this opponent.
Wow, these are beautiful.
They've turned into a grass type, which is really scary, because that actually ends up resisting your ground type moves.
Wow.
Oh my god, it's so strong.
What's going on? What is it gonna throw at me?
So it's powering itself up. Oh, your Calyrex. Oh no.
No, my Calyrex. No, don't die. Don't die.
Oh my god.
Oh. So I'm thinking that we want to do another Trick Room, but maybe we can't.
It's still up right now. If we use it again, it will go down. So we have to wait for it to expire here.
So then I guess we go for the Glacial Lance again. Is there any reason to go for something else than Eruption?
We would love to use a move that's not Eruption here, but we can't because we're not able to switch moves. So the other option is to switch out, but I think we probably just want to stay in here as my instinct. Because switching out is kind of risky. We're going to be relying on your final Pokemon here to take the rest of the kills, probably. And it's going to be dicey because they've honestly just played super well. But because you've done so much damage, it might still be like it's not necessarily over. But yeah, they have like kind of the perfect team to kind of deal with your strategy, but it's not over yet. We can still do this.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Oh, do they connect? That's really good. So they actually ended up missing one of your Pokemon. That move only hits 90% of the time. And Hattering we didn't talk about, but its strongest move is the move Expanding Force.
Okay, so I'll go for that now.
And your Torkoal can't choose, so he has to keep clicking Eruption. But yeah, the reason this is good basically is that when you know how the background is purple right now? Mm-hmm. That makes Expanding Force do more damage and hit both your opponent's Pokemon. That's part of the reason we use Indeedee as well. So
okay.
It normally only is supposed to hit one, but when the background is purple, which Indeedee helped us do, it hits both. And so you see here that even though you lost your Queen and your Knight and you went down immediately and your opponent played really well, you're actually in a position where you can still win this game. In fact, it looks like you're going to because they didn't have enough defense to last through your Trick Room. So even though Trick Room is now over, you see the message there. It says put the Twisted Dimensions return to normal. You've done enough that you're going to be able to win here.
I'm still thinking about Expanding Force.
It's a good option. The thing is that your Trick Room expired, and so you might want to set it up because...
Okay.
I'll explain it after the battle, but yeah, let's set another Trick Room up here, and they forfeit. So congratulations, you've won your first game. That's amazing.
Yay, I'm so happy.
It was hard too. Like the opponent had like kind of the perfect tools to survive your specific offense, but still you were able to kind of keep composure and you were able to close it out. So I think that was a really great first game.
I was so terrified because it's also like when you read about the theory of how to do something, it's so different from actually doing it. So
yes.
All the names kind of blur and everything. And like, I kind of get what I want to do, but I don't remember all the names or the path to get there. So
exactly.
Yeah, it was fun.
So the position was you had Hatterene and Torkoal and they had Ninetales left. And you were like, oh, should I go for Expanding Force? And I told you to go for Trick Room. The reason is because of the turn order, if you don't go for Trick Room, you take an attack from the Ninetales and then you get an Expanding Force off, right? But if you go for Trick Room, they go for an attack with the Ninetales, you go for Trick Room, and then you still get to attack again before they go for a second attack. So you're still like, it's effectively the same, like you're still getting an attack off, but on the following turn, then you'll get to attack first again. So it basically steals a tempo back into your favor if you go for Trick Room first there.
What rank are you?
The top tier is called Master Ball, although actually I haven't been playing that much in game ladder, so I might be in beginner tier right now because if you don't play, it goes down.
Oh.
So you might be getting close to me actually where I am.
I'm gonna try to beat you.
It should hopefully not be like more than a minute, but occasionally you'll like run a distance where there's nobody looking at the same time.
And that's when you can play a bullet game at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
A 1 minute chess game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if one of these games wasn't hard enough.
Okay.
Oh, and this person has a restricted Pokemon. Oh, and they have an Indeedee as well. And Indeedee has a move that can stop you from going for your Trick Room, which would be really bad. Mm-hmm. We're gonna hope that they don't have it.
So Calyrex, Hatterene. Oh.
The order matters a lot because it's front two, back two. So go on Hatterene again. The order matters a lot because if you this is where you select the order as well, and you want to lead with both Calyrex and Indeedee at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't realize that it was in that order.
So what we don't want to see here is we don't want to see the combination of both Zacian, which is a dog with a sword in its mouth, and Indeedee. We really just don't want to see Indeedee. If we don't see Indeedee, we're really great. But if we do see Indeedee, okay, perfect. We're chilling. That's awesome.
Good. So we go for same idea. We start with the Trick Room.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And do you remember what to do with Indeedee?
Yeah, we do the follow me thing.
Exactly. Perfect.
Come on. Fall for the gambit.
Here we go. No switches is good. We haven't talked too much about switching. On your team, it doesn't really matter. Oh, that's probably good. Perfect. That's really good. They did a bunch of damage. They take some damage in return. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. You're going down, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. And if they find a way to win this, I'd be really impressed.
Yes, she's out.
Yeah. Thank you for your service, Indeedee.
Thank you for your service. So we put in now Torkoal.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Because we want to save Hatterene's health in case we need to set a second Trick Room up, and because Torkoal's stronger.
Do I need to terrestrialize or no?
That's a great question. You actually are going to KO everything anyway, so you don't need to, no.
Okay, I'll just go for Eruption then.
So they have a great defensive Terra type here. So maybe we should have terrestrialized. It might have made, like maybe with the terrestrialization they would go down. Let's find out. So we're still in really good shape regardless, but yeah, maybe we might have needed to terrestrialize there actually. So I guess in the future, that's a good lesson for me is we don't need to save the terrestrialization. We can just use it like immediately a lot of the time, like as long as we didn't need to use it on the first turn to help Calyrex survive. Well, let's see here. Yeah, so we needed just a little more damage.
Okay, that's fine. Gonna go boom.
Boom. And now so because they did damage to you, your eruption got slightly weaker. Remember, every time Torkoal takes damage, eruption gets weaker, but that's actually good for you because Glacial Lance will now pick up a KO on the Mousehold because it was able to survive because they weakened your eruption, but that's actually bad for them because now Calyrex gets the KO, not Torkoal, and that means that Calyrex gets an attack boost, meaning it's now 50% stronger.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Should I Terra?
No, you should save it because in case something goes wrong, we'll use it on your Hatterini to like make sure that you can always win the game because your Hatterini, I believe, let me actually double check that, but I think it's a Terra Fire, so that means that it can't it always beats this Volcarona because of its Terra type. Oh, it's actually Terra Psychic, so okay, that's technically wrong, but whatever, you should still win here.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. So Calyrex only KO'd there, by the way, because it got that attack boost.
Oh wow, okay, so it was really important.
So you see here, this person had an overall stronger team. The Pokemon they were using were stronger, but they had a worse matchup into you. Like their tools to deal with your Trick Room were worse, even though they had stronger Pokemon generally. And so it was actually easier, right? Like you won before the first Trick Room expired. You won in actually, what was that, 4 turns?
Yeah, that makes sense. This really felt like checkmating someone in like 10 moves or something. Like this was great.
Yeah, I like this strategy a lot because when it's dominant and when it wins, it's like impossible to stop. And it's hard even to stop at a top level. So for beginners, it's kind of mean, I think, to use against them. But we're not here to be nice. We're here to learn. Maybe we might be able to bring Smeargle regardless, just so you can see a slightly more advanced opening.
I'm rank 2.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yay, this is cool. I feel like I've leveled up, which I have.
You really have. And it's cool because I see you getting more confident as well, right? Like the first game, you're like, oh, like, what do I do here? What do I do here? And this last one, it was like you were very confident, and that was exactly right.
But I feel like I understand this, which is the cool part. Like I feel like my brain comprehends what's going on, which 24 hours ago I would never.
It's also really cool to have the dynamic flip because I mean hours ago we were playing chess, right? And I was like, I'm sacking my Queen Anna, I'm gonna do it, and you were like, no. And now we're like, I'm sacking Indeedee Anna, and I'm like, okay, actually that's all right.
Oh, I'm playing a rank 3.
Another high ranked opponent. Oh, Anna, they have a Trick Room team as well. Let's go with we're gonna do Calyrex as usual. And we're gonna go with Smeargle this time. Which do you want to bring here, Anna? I think they're actually somewhat comparable.
Well, I like Hatterini because I feel like I understand her, but I also am down to try something new, so I don't care.
Okay, let's do Hatterini because that way we're only introducing one new Pokemon.
Okay, yeah.
So because this team is so slow, because it centers around Trick Room as well, this is a battle where we're actually not going to be using Trick Room ourselves, and instead, we're going to be trying to just primarily force them to waste a turn setting up Trick Room or punish them for not going for it. So there's no need to go for Follow Me here. That's the first thing to note, and you also you can't use Fake Out when the Psychic Terrain is up, which is that purple thing in the background. So Smeargle can only here go for either Spore to put something to sleep or Decorate.
I kind of like this one because you said that it was possible to win instantly, but I also
don't know. So I think that's good too. Like the thing is that this move is bad when the opponent is threatening to do a ton of damage, and while they're threatening your Smeargle, they're not threatening your Calyrex. So I think Decorate's a great call here, and you want to make sure you target your own Pokemon here. So press down.
Which
exactly,
one?
and
then
yeah, exactly, because you don't want to double their offenses here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yay!
So you're now twice as strong, and you didn't even take any damage here. Oh, and they're going for Trick. So basically, this is really interesting. They're going to be very unhappy in about 10 seconds. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so you know how we talked about hidden information?
Yeah.
They've just given your Pokemon an item that makes it, it makes it half as strong. However, the problem is that it doesn't activate until the end of the turn, and so you were twice as strong this turn, and so you just took both their Pokemon for free, and now you're even more strong. But that's really funny, that strategy that they went for.
Wow, that turned out great for us then.
And then Torkoal will survive this turn, so maybe this is an opportunity to use Spore into it, I think. I guess in theory we didn't need to Terrascalize, but generally because there's all this hidden information, I generally feel like it's better to kind of use it, especially when you're first starting out, and you'd rather use it than get to the end of the battle and have saved it for no reason. It's never going to hurt you here. Using it just means you can't use it elsewhere. That being said, this should be still really good, as they do Terrascalize as well. So they're also going for that big damage boost with their Torkoal.
I guess they have to, right? Because they were just down so much.
Exactly. They kind of need you to make a mistake. So they've made, actually, this is, in my opinion, kind of their perfect play. They need you to make some kind of a mistake here. However, we covered for that, and now their Torkoal is going to be put to sleep. Normally, when a Pokemon falls asleep, it closes its eyes, but Torkoal already has closed eyes, so you don't get to see that here.
That's
but
so
it's kind of cute. Yeah. So this won't do as much. Oh my god, that still did a lot. Because you got burned from the turn 1 trick from the Indeedee, which is unusual.
Okay, I think I'll use Decorate to just make Calyrex stronger.
Yeah, exactly. I like that too, because it's hard to say exactly how much this will do. Yeah, they forfeited.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you saw there, you kind of just won the game. Like, you didn't like... Actually, no, you won the game on the first turn. Like, it took a couple more turns to confirm it. But yeah, like after that turn 1, it was kind of impossible to lose with the moves that you made. There was like nothing that they could do. I have to say, I am extremely impressed. Obviously, Anna is like super brilliant, so it's not a surprise that she was able to get good at Pokemon, but the fact that she was able to do it so quickly, I think is really, really impressive, and probably speaks somewhat to how similar Pokemon and chess are as games, despite not looking that similar at a glance. I want to say a huge thank you to Anna. Collaborations are something that I want to do more of this year, and they're kind of scary to like reach out to people because yeah, like I want to make sure that they have a good time. I want to make sure that Pokemon, you know, is fun for them. And Anna was just like the perfect first guest. Yeah, she was so open-minded. I mean, it was a blast. Like, I genuinely had so much fun. If you'd like to see more of her content, you can do so by checking out the links on the screen here. If you enjoyed this and you have any feedback, or if there's anybody else from outside of the Pokemon world that you would like to see me try and teach competitive Pokemon to, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.